Hello and welcome to Washington Central Podcast. I am Saurabh Shukla. Today's episode is about what's really happening on India-Pakistan standoff. After a round of hectic diplomacy, including by the US, India and Pakistan agreed to a ceasefire or cessation of hostilities. What really prompted that is a realm of speculation. A lot of sources telling me that in response to Pakistan's attack against India and Indian installations, including civilian and defense installations, India hit deep inside in Pakistan. India's missile hits strategic locations, including, many believe, one of Pakistan's nuclear facility as well, by a bunker busting bomb. There is no confirmation, but yes, that was good enough for Pakistan to get spooked, go running to international interlocutors, and ask them to get a ceasefire in place. India certainly didn't want to escalate. They had achieved their strategic objectives of destroying 9 terror camps, which led to the killing of many big terror masterminds, and also hit deep inside Pakistani territory and destroyed some key air bases inside Pakistan. In a speech that India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi made, first, he declared a new paradigm of international relations that has never come out from an Indian leader before. It was significant because he said that India will now have a zero tolerance approach from Pakistan. And if there is any further terror attack, they will hit deep and also hit decisively. He also clarified that India had agreed for a pause to this Operation Sindoor, or which the Indian Army had named this operation. He also mentioned that Indian armed forces had hit deep inside Pakistan, in fact, heart of Pakistan, and also cautioned that this time India will not separate those in the Pakistani government and the army, which he said are also backing these terrorist groups, and they will not make any distinction. What was also significant in Indian Prime Minister's speech was his clear message to the world that while India is the responsible power, it will make sure that any talks with Pakistan will only be held on the issue of terrorism and on the issue of Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, which India claims is part of its own territory. In fact, there is a resolution by the Indian Parliament that says that the entire Indian state of Kashmir and the Pakistani occupied part is a part of Indian territory. So he clarified that the talks will only be held on those, contrary to many who were saying that India had agreed to come under, in some ways, pressure to pull back and agreed to a ceasefire. That's not the case. The other key element was he also mentioned that blood and water cannot flow together. So clear indication that the Indus Water Treaty that regulates water between the two countries, India and Pakistan, India has put that on hold. India will decide on its own merits and also the requirements of its own people what to do with that treaty. So that's also off the dialogue table for now. What was significant, he also said that India will no longer take Pakistan's nuclear blackmail. For long, while India had conventional superiority over Pakistan, Pakistan continued to provoke India through these terror attacks, citing that it had nuclear weapons. Post these strikes and this Operation Sindoor, the Indian Prime Minister has declared that India will no longer be buckling to Pakistan's nuclear blackmail, and it will, in a way, it's a clear warning to Pakistan that even your nuclear assets are not beyond the reach of the Indian hit. Certainly, while he clarified that India wants peace, but peace And this is an era of peace, but this is also not an era of terrorism. And India wants to tell the world that Pakistan's terrorism continues to have an impact not only on democracies like India, but also on other democracies, even like the US. There is no coincidence, in fact, uh, that every terror attack across the globe has had a Pakistani terror linkage. Osama bin Laden was found and then killed by the US forces not far away from a Pakistani cantonment in Abbottabad, where he was hiding under the patronage of the Pakistani state agencies. And it's clear that post this attack, India has yet again exposed that there is a clear and present danger from Pakistan-based terror groups to rest of the world. It's no coincidence that after India's strike at the Pakistani terror infrastructure, and where some over 100 terrorists were killed, according to the Indian Prime Minister, that Pakistani state agencies, Pakistani senior officials came to the funeral of these terror groups, and some of their coffins were draped in the Pakistani flag. It's a clear message to the world that in circa 2025, terrorism is not the way forward. The world needs peace, but it also needs to make sure that any benefactors of terrorism globally, including countries like Pakistan, they are disciplined. What India has done differently is, unlike in the past, where at every terror attack that would happen from Pakistani territory, they would go the diplomatic route. They would give dossiers to Pakistan, and that rigmarole would continue and nothing would happen. This time, they changed the red lines. This time, they changed the red lines by not only targeting Pakistan-based terror infrastructure, but also made sure that after Pakistan provoked India by sending drones, also missiles directed against Indian cities and civilian infrastructure, they launched strikes deep within Pakistani territory and also at Pakistan's strategic infrastructure, which has suffered enormous damage. And what is, I would say, a big victory of sorts for the Indian armed forces, that with very few collateral damage on the Indian side. We don't know what is the total loss of the machines. Obviously, in a war situation, that happens, but big damage has been inflicted on the Pakistani terror infrastructure and also its defense infrastructure. It's a new paradigm of international relations, if you ask me. I've covered international relations for a long time, especially in the India-Pakistan context. I've also covered extensively from Pakistan, India, the geopolitics, and I can tell you that this is a new paradigm of international relations in offing, which India has etched and India's Prime Minister has delivered today. Do stay connected to Washington Central Podcast. I will be back with yet another episode. Do comment on what you feel and also do share this podcast. Thanks for watching and hearing us on whatever podcast platform you're watching and hearing us. Thank you.